All right, what is going on, everybody? It's Ethan here, and I am coming to you guys from just outside of La Veta, a small town in southern Colorado. And if you know anything about southern Colorado, you know exactly what I'm pointing the camera at right now. Those are the iconic Spanish Peaks, very noticeable peaks from I-25. And this one here is West Spanish Peak, and then that one is East Spanish Peak. So West Spanish Peak is a 13er, while East Spanish Peak is a 12er. There's about 1,000-foot elevation difference between those two peaks. And as you can see, it's a beautiful evening. It's about 6 p.m. on Thursday, and I'm just out here by this little lake enjoying these beautiful views. Tomorrow morning, though, I'm planning on heading up there to East Spanish Peak. I've already done West Spanish Peak from Cordova Pass, and so I'm going to be trying to bag East Spanish Peak in the morning. I'm planning on starting about 6:30 in the morning from the two-wheel drive trailhead at this spot called Lover's Leap, which I actually already drove to. I just wanted to scope it out to make sure that my car could make it up there, which it can, no problem. Really beautiful place to start the hike. It's going to be quite the tough hike, which I'll get more into when I start up the video in the morning, but just wanted to show you guys this awesome view of the Spanish Peaks from over here, a few miles away from the trailhead. And I will get back to you guys in the morning when I start the hike. All right, good morning, everyone. So I am at the Wahatoya Trailhead. This is the two-wheel drive trailhead. So this road right here, it's Forest Road 442. This is a four-wheel drive road, and this is about 2 miles long. So I'm going to be hiking up this road to get to the upper trailhead, at which point I will be starting on the actual trail heading up to East Spanish Peak. So this is definitely going to be a pretty good little hike. The East Spanish Peak hike is about, well, including this four-wheel drive road, it's about 13 miles round trip with 4,200 feet of total elevation gain. So pretty difficult. It is without a doubt considerably more difficult than the West Spanish Peak hike, which I did a couple summers ago. But I'm definitely looking forward to this. This should be absolutely beautiful. Very few people hike up to East Spanish Peak, so I'm definitely looking forward to a long, difficult hike up to over 12,000 feet and lots of solitude. Well, I am hiking up this four-wheel drive road, and it's real steep. Very, very steep. I'm about a mile in right now. And just wanted to show you guys the first view of my destination. That's East Spanish Peak right there. West Spanish Peak is over here. Can't really see it from this vantage point. But yeah, this is definitely a pretty steep road. And very much so a four-wheel drive road. You know, as much as I just wanted to keep going and finish up this four-wheel drive road, I had to stop and get this view. That is incredible. Not even on the actual trail yet, and the views are just magnificent. I should be getting pretty close to the upper trailhead at this point, though. But honestly, hiking up this four-wheel drive does not suck as bad as hiking up most four-wheel drive roads. It's just so beautiful and so scenic. I can't hate it. All right, well, here we are at the upper four-wheel drive Wahatoya Trailhead. Definitely quite a steep little hike to get up here on that four-wheel drive road. And surprisingly, there's actually a vehicle up here. So I guess I won't be the only person on the trail today. Makes sense though, it is the Friday before Memorial Day. And I know a lot of people are itching to get out of their house right now. But here is where the actual Wahatoya Trail begins. So it's time to get off the road, start hiking on some actual trails, and it looks like I might have to register since I'll be going into the Spanish Peaks Wilderness. All right, well, I just registered right there, and here's a good map of the area. I'll show you where I'm going to be going. If I can get control of my trekking poles for a second. So there's Cordova Pass. That's actually where you start to go to West Spanish Peak, which is, you know, right there. And of course, East Spanish Peak is over here. So I am right here right now. I started all the way down there, hiked up that four-wheel drive road, Forest Road 442. And now I'm going to be taking the Wahatoya Trail for a little over 2 miles to the junction with the East Peak Trail. And then I'll be taking that 2.5 miles to the summit of West Spanish Peak, or sorry, East Spanish Peak. So should be a lot of fun. And I will say that I just checked the altimeter on my phone, and if you have a vehicle that can make it up here, like a 4Runner or a, you know, Jeep or something like that, I would recommend it, because you will definitely cut off a lot of distance and elevation gain off of this hike, because this upper trailhead is at 9,900 feet, which is about 2,700 feet away from the summit, while the lower trailhead where I started from is 4,200 feet away from the summit. And as you can see, we are now in the Spanish Peaks Wilderness. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy how steep that road was. But I mean, if you're like me and you don't have a vehicle that can make it up that road, just enjoy the hike, because even the hike up that four-wheel drive road is really beautiful. It's very scenic. Little view through the trees of my end destination. And it is really turning out to be quite the beautiful morning. It's a lot warmer than when I started. I'm definitely about to shed some layers here in a minute. And thus far, the Wahatoya Trail has been pretty easy going. Relatively flat, just some, you know, ups and downs, but nothing major at all. I've kind of just been sitting at around 10,000 feet since leaving the upper trailhead, which I don't mind one bit. After that really steep hike up that four-wheel drive road, I will take the break for sure, because I definitely know that things are about to get a lot tougher up ahead. Man, it is absolutely beautiful up here. So up there, that is not the summit, but close to the summit of West Spanish Peak. So I'm actually a lot closer to that than I am to East Spanish Peak right now. But I am heading in the right direction, and I should be getting up to the low point on the saddle between the two peaks fairly soon. And the low point on the saddle is actually so low that it's still below tree line. But once I get there, I believe that's when I pick up the East Peak Trail and get off of the Wahatoya Trail. But I mean, my goodness, look at this. This is incredible. Stunningly beautiful up here this morning. And that, of course, is East Spanish Peak. All right, well, I've made it to the junction with the East Peak Trail. So this is the last trail I'm going to be on. This will take me all the way up to the summit. The Wahatoya Trail continues down there. Not really sure where that leads to. And the East Peak Trail heads off in this direction. And the summit of East Spanish Peak is right up there. And as of right now, I am only at about 10,350 feet. This is kind of the low point on the saddle between the two peaks. So that 2-mile stretch on the Wahatoya Trail, I only went up about 400 feet, or about 450 feet since leaving the upper trailhead. Not very much at all. So this last 2.5 miles up to the summit is definitely going to be a leg burner, especially once I get above tree line. I know that there's going to be some steep switchbacks before, like, getting up to the tree line, and then once you get up there, you have to climb up a very, very steep talus field that looks pretty similar to the one on West Spanish Peak, actually. But yeah, this really is such a beautiful area. Like, I absolutely love the Spanish Peaks wilderness. It's incredible up here. I really think this is one of the most underrated spots in the entire state of Colorado, honestly. All right, well, I am at about 10,800 feet right now, and I'm getting a beautiful view of West Spanish Peak right there, and then some other mountains off in the distance out there that still have some snow on them. And this trail has gotten very, very steep. It's been gaining elevation very quickly. Hiking over this little talus field right now, and it looks like I'll be getting back onto a dirt trail here in a second. But yeah, it's really beautiful up here, but this trail has definitely gotten very steep. You can see it's just going straight up, doing some really steep switchbacks, and I'm assuming it's probably going to be like this up to the tree line. Well, this is the first patch of snow I have seen all day since starting this hike, and I'm at about 11,300 feet right now. So it is really dry in the Spanish Peaks right now. Definitely, like, pretty much totally summer conditions up here, which is perfect. I should be getting very, very close to tree line at this point. And I got about 1,300 feet left of elevation gain to get to the summit. So I'm getting there. All right, I have finally reached the tree line, and there is the dreaded talus field. So the summit is right there. I believe that's it, and it's going to be pretty steep, but now that I'm here, this talus field doesn't look quite as bad as what I thought it would be. But it's definitely time for a water and a little snack break. And then I will continue onward. Well, it's absolutely beautiful up here. Perfectly clear day. And so far, hardly any wind, which is just wonderful. And some amazing views. Feels good to finally be above the tree line. That was definitely quite the long hike to get up to this point. But hopefully I should be getting on top of this ridge pretty soon. And I think from there it mellows out a little bit. I mean, it's still going to be steep, but I'm pretty sure it does mellow out a little bit once you get up onto the ridge, which will be very nice. All right, well, after hiking up those two very gnarly scree slopes, I am up on the summit ridge, which is so nice. It is just beautiful up here. The views of West Spanish Peak are spectacular. The Culebra Range, and lots more that I'll definitely show you up on the summit. But at this point, you can see the summit. It's right there. And from here, it's about another 350 feet of elevation gain. So it's not too bad. Feels really good to be up here. Finally getting to do a tall peak like this again. And I'll tell you, this was definitely a crazy one to pick as my first one of the summer, because this is tough. 6.6 miles one way with 4,200 feet of total elevation gain. Definitely not the easiest of summit hikes, but I'm gonna venture a guess to say that this is all worth it in the end. All right, well, the summit is not right there, but just above that point. So according to my phone, I'm about 120 feet off of the summit right now. I'm not sure if I believe that or not. Seems like a little bit longer than that, but either way, I'm very close. I'm almost there. And I'll tell you, I can't wait to get up there and take a nice long break. All right, guys, I made it to the summit of East Spanish Peak at 12,683 feet. I have now climbed both Spanish peaks. And of course, as you would expect, the views are absolutely incredible up here. So right there is the taller of the two, West Spanish Peak, a 13er, but I will say that I think the views on East Spanish Peak are actually a little bit better, which is pretty crazy. Over there, that's the Culebra Range. Culebra Peak is down there. And then way out in the distance over there, that is Wheeler Peak in New Mexico, and that's all the Taos, New Mexico area. Raton Pass is over there. And then looking over in this direction, that is Little Bear, Blanca, Ellingwood, and Lindsay. And then over there, the Crestones, Humboldt Peak. And then way off in the distance over there, the Wet Mountains near Pueblo. And then the never-ending plains to the east. This is just so incredible. This is such a cool summit. Like, really, I am so glad I got to do this. I'm so glad that the snow's melted out here on the Spanish Peaks and I was able to climb up here. I mean, it's late May and I didn't have to step through snow one time the entire way up here, which is amazing. Normally it is not like that this time of year. Summer has come a little early here to the Southern Rockies. But yeah, this is just absolutely incredible. I will say it's a little buggy up here, which is not the greatest. There's some gnats and flies flying around, but who cares? This is just so cool. I am so glad that I made it up here to the summit. This was definitely a tough hike. From the lower trailhead, it took me just under 4 hours to get up here. It was, like I said at the beginning of the video, 6.6 miles and 4,200 feet of elevation gain. So don't underestimate this one. Despite the fact that it's 1,000 feet shorter than West Spanish Peak, it is much, much more difficult to get to the summit. But it is so, so worth it. It is incredible up here. And I am definitely going to enjoy it for a while. All right, guys. Well, I'm heading off the summit of East Spanish Peak. This was absolutely beautiful. It was really buggy up here, though. There's a lot of little gnats and flies flying around up here, which I think is mostly due to the fact that there's like no wind right now. But that's okay. It was still a really enjoyable summit. It's about 11:30 right now, so if I had to guess, I'm thinking that it's probably going to take me till around, if I had to guess, I'm probably going to get back to the car around 3 or 3:30, maybe a little bit later, just depending on how fast I can make it down. I'm definitely going to take my time, especially above tree line, because as you can see, the terrain is pretty gnarly, pretty easy to slip and fall on all this loose rock and scree. So I'm just going to take my time and get down to the car. If I get really, really lucky, maybe there will be somebody up at the four-wheel drive trailhead who will give me a ride back down to the lower trailhead, but I highly doubt it. I saw the one other person whose car was parked at the upper trailhead, and they were leaving the summit as I was coming up. So I would have to assume that that's probably going to be the only person I see today. But either way, this was so cool, really beautiful. Super glad I got to come up here and do this. All right, well, I am finally back at the tree line, getting off the scree, which is really nice. So, I mean, as far as scree slopes go, this definitely wasn't the worst one I've ever been on, but it certainly wasn't an easy thing to trek across. So I mean, the most important thing with really any scree slope is just to take your time and think about where you're going to make every step, you know, because you don't want to accidentally step somewhere where a rock's going to come out from under you and you're going to start sliding down, or you know, where you hit or twist your ankle or something like that. You don't want to do that. So the best thing you can do is just, like I said, take your time and think about every step you're going to make, especially going down, because everybody thinks going up is the hard part, and it is for the most part, but you know, those scree slopes, they're tricky to navigate your way through when you're going back down. But anyway, I'm back down in the trees now, and from here I think I got about 5.25 miles to get to the trailhead, so still quite a ways away. But after this next mile, I mean, this next mile is going to be very steep downhill, but after this it's going to mellow out quite a bit for a while, so shouldn't be too bad. Okay, well, I am back at the junction with the East Peak Trail and the Wahatoya Trail at about 10,350 feet. There's East Spanish Peak up there, and it's about 1 o'clock right now, so I'm doing really good on time. It took me about 1.5 hours to get from the summit back down to this point, and from here I've got 2 easy miles back to the upper trailhead, and then another 2 not quite as easy miles back to the lower trailhead, but at least it's almost all downhill. But I just still can't get over how beautiful it is out here. It's such a beautiful spot. All right, I am back at the upper trailhead, which means that I've got 2 miles left to get back to my car. 2 fairly steep miles. And my legs are definitely starting to feel like jelly right now, so it's gonna be interesting. But I still got plenty of water, some snacks, all that stuff, so I'll be just fine. And I'm gonna go ahead and sign out of the register before I... All right, well, I am officially leaving the National Forest land. Just came down this 4-wheel drive road, and I am getting back down to the lower trailhead now. It is about 2:45, which means that this hike took just under 8 hours round trip. It's about 7 hours, 45 minutes. So quite the big day, long hike. According to my phone, it's actually the elevation and the total mileage are a little bit over what was definitely over what was stated online, and even over what my original predictions were. So total elevation gain on this hike was about 4,500 feet, and the mileage was 13.5 miles. So quite a long day hike for sure, but absolutely beautiful. I mean, this was just such a beautiful hike, beautiful trail, amazing summit, and definitely worth it. I would say if you got that beastly 4-wheel drive sitting in your garage, go ahead and bring that out for this hike to cut off this extra 4 miles, an extra 1,500 feet of elevation gain. But even if not, it is well worth it to come up here and do this hike. And I mean, you know, despite the fact that it's long and has a lot of elevation gain, it wasn't too bad. I have felt worse than this finishing up hikes that were shorter and had less elevation gain, so it's not too bad. But anyway, guys, I am gonna go ahead and wrap up this video here. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And I will see you guys soon for some more awesome hiking adventures in Colorado and wherever else I might go. It's summertime again, ladies and gentlemen, so it's time to start peak bagging again.